My brother tried to steal my new Mustang at a block party. My parents defended him, called it just sharing. I called the cops, took him to court, and cut them off for good. Now they've lost everything and want my help. Hey Reddit, I don't usually post on here. I just scroll, read drama, and mind my business. But things at home went so sideways, I honestly didn't know where else to drop this. I'm Eli, 28 male. SoCal. I build back-end stuff for a logistics startup and spend way too much time on Craigslist hunting for project cars I can't afford. This story is about my family choosing my younger brother Jace, 24 male, every single time, and how it blew up in a way nobody wants to admit they caused. I'll keep it straight. No big words, no fake deep nonsense. Just what happened. Quick background so you get the vibe. My parents are Linda and Carl. Middle-class, two-paycheck house that always felt like one paycheck short. Growing up, the rules were simple. I had to be the adult, and Jace got to practice being famous. If he sneezed, Mom posted it on Facebook like he cured something. If I brought home an A, Dad asked why it wasn't an A+. That type of house. Jace is the kind of dude who thinks deadlines are personal attacks. He's got that "I'm built for bigger things" speech ready at all times, but he never shows up for the small things that get you to bigger things. He's not evil, just lazy and loud and convinced the world's a vending machine and his button is broken. Meanwhile, I worked through community college, transferred, then walked into tech with student loans on my back and a notebook full of goals. The biggest one, a Mustang. Not to flex. I just grew up watching videos of that V8 rumble and promised myself, one day, it's mine. I need to show you how bad the favoritism was, or none of the later parts will make sense. Anecdote 1. Rent. After school, I moved back home for a year to save, because Bay Area prices are disrespectful. Dad sits me down like we're doing performance reviews. If you're living here, you're paying rent and utilities. Teaches responsibility. Fine. I sent him a Zelle on the first of every month and paid half the electric. I didn't whine. Then 3 months later, Jace strolls back home from trying out music stuff in LA. His words. Drops his duffel in my old room and hops on the couch like a house cat. Dad? Suddenly the rent speech is family helps family. I asked if Jace was paying anything. Mom told me, don't poison this house with jealousy. Cool. Got it. Anecdote 2. The wreck. Not my dream car, this was my old Corolla. I used it to commute. Jace borrows it for a job interview, comes back with the passenger mirror hanging and a long scrape on the rear door like he parked by sonar. Says as someone must have hit me. I asked for the interview address for insurance. He suddenly doesn't remember. Mom says, you can fix it yourself, Eli. You're better with money. No apology money, no, we'll split it. I patched it with a junkyard mirror, primer, and a weekend. Jace posted a picture of himself that same weekend buying new shoes. Comments. So proud of you, Jace. I didn't comment. Anecdote 3. Graduation. My parents threw a backyard party for Jace when he finished a 6-month fitness certificate. I'm not exaggerating. Banner, balloons, cake, music, cousins, the whole thing. When I graduated with my bachelor's, Mom said we should keep it small because it's expensive and you don't even like attention. She bought a store cake and wrote my name with a frosting pen like someone signing a receipt. The only person who showed up besides family was my cousin Nate. He slipped me a little tool set and said, for the Mustang one day. That stuck with me more than anything. By the time I turned 27, I had a stable job, took on extra tickets, chased promotions, and finally paid off my student loans. I started doing the math like a man possessed. Spreadsheets, interest rates, used prices by model year. I got real boring at dinner. My co-workers talked travel plans. I talked APR. I cut eating out. I learned to fix my own stuff. I kept my Corolla alive with cheap parts and YouTube tutorials so I could stack cash for the Mustang. Newer GT manual, clean title. I can't explain how much that was the light at the end of a long tunnel. Here's the part some people won't get. Even while I was saving, I still sent money to my parents. Not every month, but often. Light bill ran high. Dad's truck needs brakes. We're short on groceries. I don't brag. I'm just saying it, so you know I wasn't stingy. It wasn't charity, it was peacekeeping. If I helped quickly, arguments ended faster, and Jace stopped calling me selfish from the next room while playing games on the TV I bought them. Dad told me more than once that a good son takes care of his parents. I asked if a good son also returns borrowed stuff in one piece. He ignored that. Anyway, I finally found it. A red Mustang GT, 2 owners, perfect maintenance records, bone stock. The guy selling it was moving overseas and needed it gone. I got my pre-approval set, We met at his bank, and I drove it home with my hands shaking like I just diffused something. I parked it, turned the key off, and just listened in the silence. You know when something actually matches the picture you've had in your head for years? That. I didn't show my parents that first day. I wanted to do it right. Show up on a weekend when everybody was calm. Tell Dad I'd kept my promise to myself. Tell Mom I'd still help with things. But this car was mine, and we were going to respect it like a real adult possession. I rehearsed that last line in the shower like a weirdo. We'll get to the main blow-up later, but before all that, something else happened that threw a wrench into my plans. I got hurt. Not hospital for months hurt, but enough to mess with work and my head. It was a Tuesday at the warehouse we use for staging hardware. We had a rack of server cases on wheels. Someone stacked them wrong. Top-heavy, bad straps. I was rolling one to a loading area when the left wheel snagged a bolt in the floor. The cart jerked, the stack shifted, and 3 cases slid forward like concrete pizza boxes. I tried to catch one because my brain is dumb and thinks I'm the hero in my own movie. It smashed into my forearm and then the corner clipped my shin on the way down. Immediate pain. White hot, like touching a pan you thought was cool. The guys ran over. My supervisor, Dan, different Dan, kept saying, don't move, like I was about to sprint off. They got me into a chair and wrapped my arm and called the on-site medic. I had this fat knot on my shin, and my arm started swelling where the case hit. The medic checked pulses, range of motion, all that. Nothing broken, thank God, but the bruising came in fast and ugly. They sent me for x-rays anyway. The clinic doc said it was clean, just a deep contusion and a hairline sprain in the wrist. Brace for 2 weeks, ice, elevate, anti-inflammatory meds, and try not to lift dumb weights like a show-off. All I could think about was shifting the Mustang with a brace on. I managed, but it hurt. Not fun, and driving a manual with one good arm is a great way to feel old at 28. I worked remote for a few days, propped the arm on folded towels, and kept telling myself it was temporary. Meanwhile, Mom called to ask if I could help them with a little short-term thing, because Dad had an insurance bill due. I said yes out of habit and zelled them what I could. She didn't ask about the brace. Jace texted the family chat a video of him at a pool party. Comment from Mom. So happy you're relaxing, sweetie. No comment on my arm photo I sent earlier. Par for the course. 2 days later, Mom called again and invited me to a neighborhood block cookout at their place. Not a holiday, just a summer kickoff thing the HOA likes doing to feel neighborly. Come show your new car, she said, which was weird because I hadn't told her about it yet. I asked how she knew. Long pause. Then she admitted Jace had seen me driving near the freeway the day I picked it up. She said he was so excited to see his big brother finally loosen up. I could picture his face saying that, and I didn't like it. I should have said no. My arm still ached, and my brain kept replaying those server cases sliding. But I wanted to prove something. Not to them, to myself, that I could show up, be polite, set boundaries, and not get baited. Also, I wanted my dad to see what I'd built for. Years of spreadsheets and cheap noodles and busted knuckles turning into one clean red Mustang in his driveway. Even if he didn't care, I would stand next to it and care enough for both of us. So I said yes. Saturday at 4. Bring chips. Park on the street because the driveway would be 4 special guests, Mom said. I knew exactly who that meant. On Friday night, I checked the car like a pilot. Tire pressure, fluids, everything. I tucked the title back into my safe, set the spare key under a drawer insert, and put the main key on a hook by my door. I stared at that key for a long minute. Dumb thought maybe, but I felt like if I kept looking long enough, my family would also see what it took me to get here. The late nights, the extra shifts, the times I got told no and didn't whine. I shut the light and tried to sleep. My arm pulsed dull. I dreamed the server cases slid again, but this time I wasn't fast enough. When I woke up, my phone had a text from Jace. Pull up early so we can take pics. No good morning, nothing. Just assumed I'd show up and hand over the keys like my life is his prop. I stared at it, typed, "We'll see," and deleted it. I wasn't going to fight by text. I was going to set the rule in person, clear and simple. Nobody drives the Mustang but me. If you're reading this waiting for the big scene, hold on. We're not there yet. All you need to know for now is this. By the time Saturday afternoon came around, the sun was sharp, my arm was wrapped, and the Mustang was shining like a promise. I had no idea how sideways a basic block party could go. I just knew I was done being the family wallet and the family doormat. I was going to stand there, say my piece, and protect what I earned. And yeah, that was the plan right up until the moment I saw who parked in the driveway for special guests. Spoiler, it wasn't me. Pulling onto my parents' street Saturday afternoon, I instantly knew I'd been played. The special guests in the driveway weren't the mayor, a war hero, or anyone from the HOA. It was Jace's old college roommate's Tesla and some random dude's Jeep, both parked side by side like the red carpet had rolled out just for them. I pulled in slow, partly to keep the Mustang from hitting the craters in their driveway entrance, partly because I needed a second to keep my face neutral. If I showed up looking ticked, Mom would act like I was ruining the vibe. I found a spot half a block down. Before I even turned the engine off, a couple neighbors were already walking over. The Mustang has that effect. One guy asked, "This yours? Looks brand new." I told him, "Yeah, just picked it up." Felt good to say that out loud. I'd worked too many years for that moment. I walked up carrying 2 big bags of chips and a folding chair. Dad was by the grill with that same look he gets when he's talking to anyone who isn't me, engaged, smiling, throwing little one-liners. He glanced over when I got closer, nodded once, and went back to his conversation with the Jeep guy. Mom was darting between tables, arranging store-bought cookies on a plate like it was fine dining. She spotted me and smiled big. "Eli, you made it! Oh, we saw your car. Jace told everyone already." She didn't even pause for breath before adding, "You should let him take it around the block later so people can see it in action." There it was. Day 1 of boundaries, and she was already making assignments with my stuff. I gave the safest answer possible. "We'll see," which is code for no, but in a tone that doesn't start a fight in front of a crowd. Jace was at the far table, holding court with 3 people I didn't recognize. He had sunglasses on, backwards cap, leaning back like he owned the patio. When he saw me, he raised a hand like we were in a stadium. "Eli! Bro finally made it! Parked all the way down the street like a diva!" The 3 people laughed. Not mean, but you know that laugh that says they're on his side already? That. I sat with my cousin Nate, who thankfully was there. Nate's one of the only relatives who's never played the favoritism game. He's seen the crap I've dealt with, but he's not the type to stir it up. "Nice ride," he said low, handing me a paper plate. "Bet you had to fight the urge to rev past the house." "Trust me," I said. The urge was there. We ate for a bit, but the Mustang kept coming up. People asking if it was stock, how much it cost, how fast it goes. Every time someone asked me directly, Jace found a way to jump in like he was my spokesperson. "Yeah, it's sick. I'm probably gonna borrow it soon. Get some pics for my channel." He doesn't even have a channel. Just an Instagram he treats like a production company. I kept telling him no in different ways. Laughing it off, changing the subject, outright saying not happening. He acted like I was joking. Halfway through the afternoon, Mom pulled me aside near the kitchen. "Don't be so uptight," she whispered, like we were plotting a heist. "Your brother's just proud of you. Let him enjoy it. It's family." I didn't want to do the whole remember when thing, but I couldn't help it. Family like when he wrecked my Corolla and didn't pay a dime? Or family like me paying rent while he lived here free? Her face tightened. "Don't dig up old things. This is a happy day." That's the thing about my mom. She doesn't want to remember the details if they make her favorite look bad. Jace could probably light the couch on fire and she'd tell me to stop making it a big deal. The grill smoke and the smell of burgers was making the backyard feel smaller than it was. I hung back, talked with Nate, and avoided getting pulled into the photo circles Jace kept forming around himself. Then came the twist in the afternoon. My arm. The brace was off now, but the wrist was still tender. I'd been trying to carry a tray of bottled water from the garage fridge to the patio, but halfway there I felt that sharp twinge. I had to set the tray down on the workbench and shake my hand out. Guess who walked in right then? Jace. He looked at the tray, looked at my hand, then smirked. "Man, if you can't even carry this, maybe you should let me drive the Mustang. Don't want you hurting yourself." I stared at him. "You're not driving it, Jace. Not today, not ever." He grinned like I'd just given him a challenge. "We'll see," and walked out with the tray like he'd just won some competition. I told Nate about it later, and he shook his head. "Lock your doors, man." I laughed, but something about the way he said it stuck with me. Because if there's one thing Jace has never respected, it's boundaries, especially mine. As the sun started dipping, the cookout crowd got louder. Music turned up, kids running around, people spilling into the front yard. I noticed a few guests heading out early, which meant cars were moving in the street. My spot was now blocked in by someone double parked, so I figured I'd wait it out. That's when I realized I hadn't seen Jace in 20 minutes. I scanned the yard, no sunglasses, no backwards cap. Checked the kitchen, empty. Asked Mom, "Where's Jace?" She waved a hand like it didn't matter. "He's probably showing your car to someone." I froze. "What do you mean showing my car?" She frowned at my tone. "Relax, Eli. He's just proud of his big brother's accomplishment." My stomach sank. I bolted through the side gate to the front yard, weaving through lawn chairs and kids with snow cones. The Mustang was still there, parked down the block. From a distance, nothing looked off, but I couldn't see inside. I started walking fast. Halfway there, my phone buzzed. It was Nate. "Hey, you might want to get to your car right now. I just saw Jace with some guy I don't know, both looking like they were about to get in." I picked up the pace. The Mustang's headlights caught the sun just right, blinding me for a second. When my eyes adjusted, I saw the driver's door crack open. And yeah, you guessed it. Jace was in the seat. By the time I got to the Mustang, my pulse was doing double time. I'd been telling myself maybe I was overreacting. Maybe he was just sitting in it, pretending, acting like he had something going on. But no, Jace wasn't just sitting there. Engine was on. He had one hand on the wheel, the other on the shifter like he was filming a car commercial. Some random guy, looked like one of those crypto but broke types, was in the passenger seat, grinning like they were about to test drive it. I stepped right up to the open driver's door. "Turn it off, now." Jace didn't even flinch, just smirked. "Relax, Eli, we're taking it around the block. Show my buddy how a real car sounds. You're not taking it anywhere. Outside, now." He leaned back, almost laughing. "Why you acting like I'm stealing it? We're family." That word again, family. In my house, family means Jace can do whatever he wants, and the rest of us should thank him for the privilege. The crypto-looking guy piped up, "It's fine, man. I'll make sure he's careful." I looked at him like he just told me he'd babysit my bank account. "Get out." Jace finally turned the engine off, but only to throw a little tantrum. He shoved the door open hard enough to bump my arm. "You've gotten so uptight since you started making money. When did you forget we grew up sharing everything?" I laughed once, sharp. "We didn't grow up sharing. I grew up paying for my stuff while you borrowed and broke it." He rolled his eyes. Here we go with the victim routine. That was the part that burned. I'd been patient all afternoon, dodging his hints, telling him no without making a scene. But in that moment, with him tossing my boundaries like trash, I felt the line snap. "Stay out of my car, Jace. Last warning." I locked it in front of him, walked back to the yard, and thought maybe that was the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. 10 minutes later, Mom called me into the kitchen. She was standing there with Jace, arms crossed, doing that "I've already picked a side" stance. "Why are you embarrassing your brother in front of his friends?" she asked, like I'd just yelled at him for breathing. I stared at her. "Because he was about to take my car without asking." Her eyes narrowed. "He's your brother, Eli. It's just a car. You've got insurance. You can get it fixed if something happens." That's my mom's logic in a nutshell. If something has a fix, it's fine to break it. "It's not just a car, it's mine. I paid for it." I said no. Jace jumped in, voice raised. "You didn't even let me drive it once. I've been hyping you up all day and you treat me like a thief." "You were literally in the driver's seat with the engine on," I shot back. Mom held up her hand like she was stopping traffic. "Enough. You work in computers, Eli. You make good money. You can afford to be generous. Your brother's been trying to get back on his feet. You should be helping him, not shutting him out." I swear, in that moment, I could have handed her a signed confession from Jace saying, "I'm going to wreck Eli's car on purpose," and she'd still ask if I could let it go for the sake of family. Dad walked in then, probably after hearing voices. I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd play referee. Nope. First words out of his mouth. "Your mom's right. It's just a car. Let him take it for a spin." That was when it hit me. They weren't just taking Jace's side today. They'd been training for this their whole lives. I crossed my arms. Not happening. Dad's jaw tightened. "You know we've put up with a lot from you. Don't forget who gave you a place to live after college." "Yeah," I said, "and I paid rent while Jace didn't." That earned me the look. The one where both of them silently agree I'm disrespectful. We didn't speak for the rest of the cookout. I sat with Nate, watched the sun dip behind the houses, and kept an eye on the Mustang from a distance. People started leaving. I figured if I stayed until Jace was distracted, I could leave without another round. I should have known better. I was helping Nate fold his chair when I heard it. My engine. That deep, perfect rumble I'd waited years for. My head snapped up. The Mustang was moving. I dropped the chair and sprinted. Jace was behind the wheel again, this time halfway down the street, grinning like an idiot while two of his friends laughed in the back seat. I yelled, but the music from the yard swallowed my voice. I ran straight to my car's usual spot. Empty. Nate was right behind me, phone in hand. "You want me to call the cops?" For half a second, I hesitated. Pressing charges on your own brother? That's nuclear. But then I pictured the Corolla mirror. the rent, the fake sharing speeches. I pictured how quick my parents would call the cops if I took anything of Jace's without asking. Yeah, I said. Call them. By the time the officers showed, the Mustang was back. Sort of. The front bumper was scraped, the right fender dented like someone had tried to squeeze past a concrete wall. Jace parked it crooked at the curb like he'd just finished a rally stage. I walked up to the officer, kept my voice steady, and pointed. That's my car. He took it without permission. I want to file a report. The look on Jace's face went from smug to panicked real quick. You're really doing this? Over a scratch? Mom came running from the yard. Eli, stop this right now. He's your brother. He's also an adult who just stole my car, I said. She turned to the officers. This is a family misunderstanding. We can handle it ourselves. One of the cops shook his head. Ma'am, if the registered owner wants to press charges, it's not a misunderstanding. Dad joined in, voice booming. Eli, you're not pressing charges. You're not putting your own blood in the system. Then maybe you should have taught him not to steal from his own blood, I said. The cop took my statement, got Jace's ID, and wrote it all down. They didn't arrest him on the spot, but they made it clear there'd be a court date. Jace muttered something under his breath as they walked away. Mom stood there glaring at me like I'd burned the house down. Dad shook his head and said, You'll regret this. That was the end of the party for me. I got in the Mustang, carefully, avoiding the fresh scrape, and drove home without looking back. My arm ached, my head ached, and for the first time in my life, I realized there was no fixing the dynamic in that family. I'd been sending them money for years, thinking it was help. Turns out it was just funding my own disrespect. That night, I opened my banking app and canceled the recurring transfers to Dad. Set Jace's number to mute so I wouldn't see his incoming spam. When Mom's text came in, we'll talk when you've calmed down, I didn't answer. I wasn't calm. I was clear. They'd shown me exactly where I stood, and from now on, they'd stand on their own without my wallet propping them up. The morning after the block party felt weirdly quiet. I expected a dozen missed calls, angry texts, maybe Dad showing up at my door ready to talk sense into me. Instead, nothing. That silence wasn't peace. It was the kind where you know someone's loading up ammo before firing back. Around noon it started. First text was from Mom. Call me. This has gone too far. Then one from Dad. We need to meet. This family doesn't go to court against each other. Then 3 from Jace, each less coherent than the last. Drop it, man. I said sorry. You know they're on my side. You're just embarrassing yourself. Don't forget you used my PS4 for months without asking. He lent it to me after his controller broke, and I bought my own controller to use it. But okay. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called the officer from the day before to confirm the report was filed. It was. There'd be a court date in a couple weeks. I'd need to bring photos of the damage and proof of repair costs. That part was easy. I'd already taken shots of the fender scrape, bumper gouge, and the way the wheel paint was chipped like he'd grazed a curb. By that night, the silent strategy was done. The phone calls started coming in hot. Mom first. No, hello, just, you're ruining your brother's future over nothing. Nothing. Do you want him to have a record? Do you want him to lose jobs? What's wrong with you? I let her rant for 2 full minutes before I said, What's wrong with me is you think it's okay for him to steal from me because we're related. She scoffed. Steal? He was borrowing it. You make good money, Eli. Stop acting like this car is your only asset. And there it was. The family accountant mindset. If I had more than one of something, it was open season. I said no. He took it anyway. That's stealing. She dropped the hurt mom voice. Fine. Be petty. But don't come crying to us when you need something. That made me laugh. You mean like when you text me because the light bill's due? Click. Call over. 2 days later, Dad showed up unannounced. Knocked like a cop. 3 sharp hits. I opened the door, and he walked past me without asking. We're not doing this, he said. Already doing it, I replied. He turned like I'd spat on the floor. You don't take your own brother to court. It's not how a family works. I leaned on the counter. It's exactly how it works when one brother thinks the other's stuff is his to take. His jaw worked like he was chewing gravel. You've forgotten who took you in after school. You're acting like we never did anything for you. I almost choked. You charged me rent. You made me pay utilities. Meanwhile, Jace gets free room and board and wrecks my stuff without consequence. So yeah, I remember exactly what you did for me. He stepped closer. Drop the charges. Today. We'll pay for the damage. That almost made me laugh. You had your chance to teach him to take responsibility. You chose to cover for him. Now the state can do it. He left without another word. Slammed my door so hard a picture rattled off the wall. The next week was open season on my phone. Not just my parents, aunts, uncles, even a couple cousins I haven't talked to in years, suddenly concerned about my decision. The script was always the same. It's family. You're overreacting. You're going to regret this. One aunt actually said, "You've always been the stable one, Eli. You can afford to take the loss." That right there is the problem. Because I work hard and take care of my stuff, I'm expected to take the hit when Jace acts like a wrecking ball. Nate texted once just, "Proud of you for sticking to it." He didn't try to convince me either way. That's how I knew he actually got it. When the court date came, my parents sat with Jace on one side of the room. They didn't even glance at me. The judge read the charge, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and asked if we'd tried to resolve it outside court. Jace's lawyer, probably paid for by mom and dad, jumped in. My client believed he had permission. This was a family misunderstanding. I presented the text messages, the fact I told him no multiple times, and the damage photos. The judge asked Jace directly, "Did your brother say you could drive the car?" He mumbled something about, "He didn't say I couldn't." Judge raised an eyebrow. That's not the same thing as permission. In the end, Jace got probation, had to pay restitution for the repairs, and do community service. You'd think he got sentenced to life the way my parents reacted. Sighing, whispering, shaking their heads like the system was broken. After court, in the hallway, Mom cornered me. "Hope you're happy. You've humiliated this family." I looked her dead in the eye. "No, Mom. Jace humiliated himself. I just stopped cleaning up after him." Dad muttered, "You'll regret this when you're older." Maybe. But in that moment, it felt like the first decision I'd made for myself in years. Cutting them off financially was easier than I thought. No more light bills due Zells. No more "can you help us float the insurance payment" Venmos. I figured they'd tighten their belts. Maybe stop funding Jace's random ventures. Nope. 2 months later, Nate told me they'd taken out a high-interest loan to help Jace start his detailing business. The business was him washing cars in the driveway with a bucket and a sponge, posting videos like he was running a high-end shop. It lasted 3 weeks before the HOA shut it down. I stayed out of it. No offers to help him get legit. No offers to buy better equipment. If they wanted to throw good money after bad, it was their choice. The texts got less frequent. The guilt trips stopped coming every other day and started coming once a month. I thought maybe we were settling into a new normal. Distant, but at least quiet. Then came the call that broke the silence. Mom, voice tight, asking if I could meet them to talk. I said no. She said, "You'll want to hear this in person." We met at a diner halfway between my place and theirs. They were already there, sitting on the same side of the booth like a united front. Jace wasn't with them, which was my first clue this wasn't just another "forgive him" speech. Dad started. "We need help." Mom jumped in. "We're behind on the mortgage. The truck needs repairs." And Jace? I held up a hand. "Stop. If this is about me bailing out Jace again, it's not happening." "It's not just about Jace," Mom said, but her eyes dropped when she said it. I leaned back. "I warned you. I told you I wasn't your ATM anymore." Dad's voice hardened. "So you're going to watch your own parents lose their house?" I looked him in the eye. "I'm going to watch you face the consequences of putting your golden child above everyone else. Every time. That includes me." Mom's face crumpled. "We're begging you, Eli. Please." It wasn't easy. Part of me still wanted to cave, to keep the peace, to pretend they'd change if I just gave a little more. But I thought about that day in court, about the scraped fender, about years of being the backup plan while Jace got to live consequence-free. "No," I said. "You made your choice. Now live with it." I dropped some cash on the table for my coffee and walked out. Didn't look back. 6 months after that diner meeting, the silence was broken in the worst way possible. Not by a call, not by a text, but by an email from my HR department. The subject line was, "Urgent, harassment allegation inquiry." Turns out someone had submitted an anonymous complaint accusing me of violent behavior toward family members and unfit moral conduct. The language was so over the top, it was almost laughable. Except HR doesn't laugh at that stuff. They take it seriously, launch an investigation, pull your colleagues into interviews. Within an hour, I knew exactly where it came from. Nobody else on earth would have the exact mix of petty and dramatic to write that, except my own family. My guess? Jace. Maybe with Mom's help. They didn't realize I had receipts for every major family blow-up for years. Text threads where they insulted me. Messages where they begged for money. The court records from the Mustang theft. I sent it all to HR. They closed the case in a week and wiped it from my file. But I wasn't letting it slide. They'd gone from leeching off me to actively trying to nuke my career. That's not family. That's just people who share your last name. I filed a restraining order request that same week. I listed everything: the harassment, the false claims, the property damage, the history of entitlement, and now the attempt to sabotage my job. The judge read through it all and asked me one question. Do you believe contact with these individuals poses a risk to your safety or livelihood? Yes, I said without hesitation. The order was approved on the spot. Effective immediately, they couldn't call me, text me, email me, show up at my house, or get within 100 yards. If they did, it was an arrest. When the papers were served, Nate told me later, Mom cried like it was some grand betrayal. Dad called it ungrateful. And Jace posted some cryptic nonsense online about snakes in the family. I didn't care. I didn't watch their downfall in real time. I heard about it in pieces from people who still talk to them. The mortgage they were a little behind on? Foreclosed. The truck Dad swore he'd fix? Repossessed. Jace's next big thing ventures kept burning money, and eventually even the relatives who used to defend him stopped lending. They downsized to a cramped apartment in a part of town my mom used to call unsafe. Jace worked random shifts at a tire shop. Dad picked up warehouse work to cover rent. Mom took in sewing jobs from neighbors. Nothing wrong with any of that. Honest work is honest work. But they'd built their entire lives around looking down on people who didn't do better, and now they were living the version of life they used to mock. I stayed in my lane, kept building my career, paid off the Mustang repair loan early, put a down payment on my own place farther from their area. My circle got smaller but calmer. Then, a few weeks ago, I ran into them by chance. I was at a grocery store in the next city over, grabbing stuff for a weekend barbecue with Nate and some friends. I rounded the corner into the produce section, and there they were, Mom, Dad, and Jace. They looked older. Not a few years older, more like a decade older. Stress ages you fast. Clothes were worn, faces drawn. The moment Mom saw me, she froze. Dad's jaw clenched. Jace shifted like he was deciding whether to bolt. Then Mom's eyes filled with tears. She walked up first. Eli, please. We've been through so much. We were wrong. About everything. We just want our family back. And Dad stepped in beside her. We've lost everything, son. You've proved your point. Help us get back on our feet. Even Jace mumbled, I'm sorry, man. For the car. For all of it. It was like they'd rehearsed it. Same posture, same tone. But for the first time, they weren't acting from a position of control. They weren't the ones deciding what I owed them. They were asking, begging. And I realized something. They weren't actually sorry for the years of favoritism, for defending Jace no matter what, for throwing me under the bus every time it was convenient. They were sorry they'd run out of options. I looked at each of them in turn, saw the hope in their faces, the silent, he'll cave. They'd relied on my whole life. And I said one word, no.